Greetings gamers everywhere, I'm Swipin92 and it's yet another build for Soulstone Survivors, and this time with the Beastmaster. He's the tamer of beasts, and in this one we're taming some fire beasts. This is actually for the newest weapon for the Beastmaster, the legendary weapon. Now, this legendary weapon will give you two new abilities. One of them will uh, make you able to summon a pterodactyl or several pterodactyls, and they are fire-based and apply burn to enemies. And the secondary ability is basically a small T-Rex type of dinosaur, which deals also burning damage, I believe, but more importantly, they deal damage to the enemy based on their number of stacks of burn on the target. And the stacks are not, excuse me, not consumed. So this build is basically based on fire, 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 and fire, and fire. Fire damage for the win. Now, what I chose to have as, well, abilities, I guess, was, of course, the two weapon abilities, and also chose to have the Bestial Wrath buff because of the movement speed and multicast chance that it gives you and your companions. I figured that this would make well, mainly the T-Rex type of dinosaur, make them able to, like, attack once, but attack multiple times with one attack. You know what I mean? Like multicast chance. I'm not sure if it works like that, honestly, but I went with that. I also had combustion because I think combustion is a perfect, well, not perfect, but a great way of dealing fire damage, or rather applying fire stacks to enemies quickly. It applies fire stacks every 0.5 seconds, if I remember correctly. So that's a great way of dealing more fire damage and stacking up those fire damage stacks, or burn stacks, I guess. The next ability was Blade Storm, which doesn't deal fire damage or apply burn on its own, but with the passive bonus of having all your attacks apply burn, yeah, it's gonna apply burn as well. I also had Flame Wave, which I mainly chose because it applies burn in a large radius around me. I'm sure there are other types of fire dealing abilities that could be more suitable, but this is what I went with, and I think it went pretty well. The run took 26 minutes, and I believe that's fair enough, I guess. And the Lava Tyrant, which is the dinosaur, the T-Rex type of dinosaur, dealt over 650 billion damage at the end. And I think that's around where I'm usually end up in damage, at least with a lot of other abilities that I've chosen. So yeah, I think this build is very good. Now, what surprised me the most, I think, was that both types of dinosaurs that you get with this weapon have a really stack well with area, like increased area, because both of the dinosaurs attack with a sort of a thrust area, you could say. The pterodactyls attack with a like a triangular thrust attack, and the T-Rex type attacks with a sort of a bite down attack in a large cone in front of them, like a 180 degrees cone in front of them. And increasing in the area of attacks increases their area of attacks as well. So yeah, if you want to clear a group of enemies quickly, yeah, they're having some increased area really does the trick. I was surprised that they were gonna stack so well with that. Now, of course, other things that are important are, of course, like multicast chance, so they can summon multiple beasts at the same time. When you summon, you want to summon as many of them as possible at once, because you don't want to have only summon one at your place where you are at, and then the other two maybe are at another location not too far from you, but far enough that you're gonna be almost defenseless. Because the runes that I chose actually decreases my damage. So let's go over those real quickly. Of course, we have the standard weapon expert, which gives you the secondary ability of the weapon instantly. Reroll mastery for extra rerolls every 5 levels. And it chose efficient extraction to increase the amount of materials I get. If you want to level up, I would choose the rune that gives you, of course, additional XP for your character. Now, my runes for damage was Commanding Presence was the first one, which reduces my damage but increases the damage for all my summoned units by 30%, which is a great damage boost. Now the second one decreases the quantity of the units I can summon by 1, but increases the damage all summoned units do by 30%, which is a great amount of damage. Again, that's 60% with those two runes. Now the third rune was Extra Help, which increases the maximum active units and quantity of units summoned of all my summon skills by 1. This was mostly to counteract the second rune, because I do want to have as many dinosaurs as possible roaming around. The third rune is Searing Intensity, which increases all damage you cause by 0.5% per stack of burn or shattered on the target up to a maximum of 25%. Now, this one could be switched with targeted attack or focused fire, which also increases your damage dealt. And I believe it actually does that by more than 25% now when I think about it. So yeah, I should maybe have chosen that one instead. That's what you get for not. That's what I get for not reading or looking better, I guess. But even as many of other my builds that I have done, yeah, no runes are set in stone for me, because there are so many variants you can do with the runes and there are so many different ways you can play this. Now this is of course what I chose because yeah, I felt that this was gonna be alright. Now feel free to leave in the comments if you have any other runes set up for this kind of build, but this is what I chose, and as I did kill the Void King, I'm pretty pleased with this. I'm pleased with this build, and the damage I had in the end was pretty nice. I wouldn't. It's not the strongest build I ever done with a character in Soulstone Survivors, but it was very good. Now, of course, as I just said, it's not the fastest build, so you're gonna want some dodge here, and you're gonna want some movement speed so that you can avoid attacks, mainly in the end battle with the Void King, where I probably took the most damage. Now, the Beastmaster is a slow character, so yeah, take some movement speed to increase the mobility of your character. Critical chance for your damage, of course, is very good for your summons as well. I imagine they do inherit your critical chance. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I imagine they do. It says increase critical chance of all your attacks. And as far as I know, your summons do count towards that. Now, critical damage after that, of course, nice, very nice to have. Now, something that I chose in the end was some block power and armor power, just to get some extra there, just some extra, survivability. But that's completely, shall we say, optional. Now, cast frequency, I chose that because I wanted to be able to summon as often as I could, because even with your summons have the cunning trait, which makes them target the most important uh, enemies at first. Like for example, they will attack a Lord of the Void before an elite enemy, and at least I do think they will do that. I imagine they do that, but they target the most difficult enemies, the toughest enemies before the small ones. So if you're close to the tougher enemies, you want to be able to summon your pets at your location and so that they can attack the target closest to you. At least that's what I've been doing with previous summon builds. Now, if you want to increase the damage, well, the most important thing to increase damage on is, of course, the dinosaurs, but mainly the T-Rex type of dinosaur, the lava tyrant. You can see that is your main damage. I did increase the damage on combustion and the pterodactyl or pyrodactyl, as they call it. And yeah, I thought, why not? It can't hurt, and plus I did run out of rerolls at times, so I had nothing else to really choose. So now, do increase the cost frequency of Bestial Wrath, but when you get to a point where you're having it up all the time, just don't choose cost frequency or duration anymore. And I did increase the area of combustion by a lot to, well, I wanted to cover as much area as I could. Once I reached like beyond my own screen, yeah, I started to think maybe that's enough, you know? Now, I find this build to be very powerful, especially if you manage to increase the amount of lava tyrants you can summon. I did manage to get this one to 6 lava tyrants in the end, and that was a big damage boost. With just the 3 basic ones, I had good damage, good DPS, but once I got to 4, it got better, and once I got to 6, because I got a legendary upgrade there, yeah, it just went totally crazy, I want to say. So yeah, this is one of the builds I can really, I can really dig, you could say. I really like this one. But of course, the big caveat, I guess, is that you need to be level 100 with the Beastmaster before you can even craft the weapon for this build. So there's that little thing. I am thinking of trying to do builds for each character, or rather a quick kind of walkthrough with each character where they're using maybe the first or the second weapon, because I'm, well, I know that not everyone might not be at level 70 or 100 to be able to use the legendary or epic weapons. So having to be seeing builds that are made for the first or second weapon where you are much lower level with the characters, I feel that would be very nice to see, even from my perspective. Well, mostly for others, but I also want to see, can you really defeat the king with that? I mean, the first and second weapons are only as good as what you get and how you use it, so yeah. It should be possible, but maybe difficult. Anyway, that's all I got for this Beastmaster video, and I hope this build has given you some insight into the Beastmaster. Nah, that sucks. Scratch that, scratch that. I'm hoping this build will give you some idea of what you can do with a Beastmaster. That sounds tacky. I've been Swipe92, have a great life, and I hope to see you in future videos. Bye bye!